like like an empty street, and then all you see is really like the silhouette of cars, and then like the lamps, the street lights going down the street, and like the long and like the wide shots of like the town from far away, like inside that little valley or whatever it is.
Yes.
Yeah,
beautiful.
I don't know if it's a Swan fact, but I think this was like the same setting from Rambo: First Blood or something like that.
That's true. That's true.
Oh wow.
That's why you're awesome. Like, oh, like this looks kind of a little familiar.
Yeah.
But yeah, it gave it, and then the music too.
Man,
it was very dread, dude. Like I felt like I was stressed, dude. I'm like, dang, dude. Like
it definitely sets the tone.
Like I feel it with the acting. Why do I have to feel it with the music? You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, it's still pretty sinister. Like a sinister type of like feel to it, that music that they played throughout the whole film. It felt like it was going to be a horror movie at certain points, but it was actually, like, if you think about it, well, thriller, obviously, but horror.
I think it's, for me, this one plays into how Green Room could be seen as a horror film, but it's also just a worst case scenario film, and this is much more of a worst case scenario. Like you said, like you guys said earlier, this shit just hits the fan, and we get to see the outcome. You know what I mean? And, but yeah, there's definitely horror elements to this, especially with Imogen Poots and you know what she has to go through, fearing for her life, although, you know, she probably shouldn't have done what she done, but it gets pretty intense. And because we are going into March, which is Women's History Month, I wanted to give her a shout out because I feel like she's not talked about enough as an actress, and how much kind of chop she has and what she really is capable of. If you guys seen 28 Weeks Later, the sequel, that's her.
Yeah, she's the daughter, right?
When she was a bit younger, but yeah, she's been around for quite a bit, man, and done some very, very great work. So shout out to Imogen, we love you.
Yeah.
But
I really like the like you kind of get the. You know, I mean, you get pretty much a full history lesson in John Bernthal's character, and Rodeo Rider, and you see that, you know, he's almost like a shell of what he used to be, because, you know, he's kind of I know he says he has early onset something. I don't know if he says the exact what he has. But I'm assuming it's maybe like Parkinson's or something.
Yeah, he doesn't say straight up Parkinson's. He just says early onset. He doesn't finish the statement. He just says early onset, almost like he can't bring himself to say Parkinson's. But because of the numerous falls or something, or you know what,
hit too many times in the head.
Yeah, he has the shakes, and they bring that up in a clever way. And you know, Elwood. Yeah, Elwood invites Rossi or Sam to eat right before his shift. It's almost going to be midnight. They go in town to this diner, and Sam tells Elwood, sitting across from him, he's like, "Yo, how do you eat all that sugar? If I had that much right now, I would be bouncing off the walls." And and Elwood looks at him, Elwood looks at him, at Sam, and goes, "Look, my hand's steady, like it doesn't shake." And then he realizes that he's like, looks at potentially like an asshole because Sam
is shaking.
Sam can't control his nerves the way that Elwood can, and he makes sure to kind of swing back around and clean that up and say, "Yo, that wasn't a dig. I didn't mean it to be rude." But then he asks further, like, why do you have that, or is that rude to ask? But like, what's up? Like, what's going on with you? And that's when Sam tells him, "Oh, like I used to ride, and I hit my head too many times, and now the doctors say that I have the early onset," which turns out to be like he's gonna sooner or later get, you know, Parkinson's disease, which is pretty sad, and I feel like that's why when he tries to step up and be like this tough character, he's really kind of crippled in a way because of his body. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they
Not
show
really able to anymore.
Yeah, they show you in subtle ways. Even when he wakes up, he's got to, you know, like smoke this little bit of pot and stuff because he's like just in constant pain from riding for years.
Yeah,
and being
even the way he walks too.
Yeah, he's got that little hitch and stuff. There's so many crazy, great audio sequences just hidden within these performances. It's pretty fascinating, you know. But yeah. What I love too about this is that Jon Bernthal kind of takes, you know, he's a main player in this, but he's not the tough guy whatsoever. You could argue maybe at the end he kind of steps up and does what he has to do, but overall he's a very different kind of character than we usually would see or we've come to expect. You know what I mean? The kind of Shane or the Frank characters, you know.
Yeah. So let's talk about the ending there, which I think led to more mystery, like for me in a way, because he obviously, big spoiler, he shoots fucking Chris Abbott, Elwood. Do you think that in a way he should have done that? Was it justified? I mean, obviously Elwood's a loose cannon, but he did like fully render himself not able to do anything to Joe Bernthal at the time. What do you feel about that? Like, do you think Joe Bernthal just went a cop real quick? Like, became a cop? You know what I mean?
I thought that scene was actually pretty funny because, you know, that about 2 minutes before that, before he, you know, he says, you know, like, I'm done, he's chasing Bernthal, trying to kill him. And you know, and he finally gets Sam finally gets a rifle on him, and he's like, you know, does that thing even work? Because it's from World War II and it's his grandpa's rifle. But he you know, he throws his gun in the trunk and he closes it, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna call this. We're square now, all right? You know, we're good. And I started laughing so much because he says it so sincere and kind of like with no emotion. Really, it was just like, you know what? You know, I tried to kill you, but you know, we're good now. You know, we're even. And I was like, what? That makes, that makes no sense at all. Like, of course this guy's getting, like, not even. But I think it was, I mean, justified in him doing that. I mean, you know, he didn't want him to leave because he knew he was kind of putting it together already in his head that, you know, he was the guy who attacked Bernadette. I think that's what her name was. The, you know, the lady that he's been seeing, or she's been having an affair with him. I think maybe there was a little bit of revenge, or maybe a little bit in there to do with that, but also to finally maybe step up. I feel like maybe that was his chance to kind of be like, you know, I'm gonna, you know, I can't physically stop him because of, you know, his handicaps, but he, you know, he could stop him like that. I don't know. I think it was justified. I don't think it was a bad thing for him to do that. You know. I think it was a way to end the movie. What do you think, Wes?
That's good. I think it's necessary to rewind back and tell the kind of middle of the film where Lila's character, Imogen Pote's character, she is afraid for her life and thus says, you know, I can get you your 50 grand, please don't kill me. And she kind of spills the beans on Bernadette and how she's wealthy and her husband actually did have assets. You know what I mean? And she kind of came into this money, and, you know, Lila knew where the vault was, so she selfishly kind of pulls the heat off of herself, puts it on Bernadette. Then Elwood, you know, goes and kind of recruits this young mechanic guy who he thinks will be down. And they go pull off this thing, not intending to hurt Bernadette, not knowing her relationship, you know, with Sam yet. And then when things go south in that, and Bernadette actually, or Bernie actually attacks the Elwood and the other young gentleman, that's when things get bad. And so the young guy, the mechanic, is killed, and Elwood survives, but he's injured. He can't go to the hospital because it's a small town. They're going to know it's him. So he tries to kind of tend his own wounds. And that's where we fast forward to the end of the movie, where he comes out, Elwood comes out of his motel room, and he's in this kind of like white tank top-ish kind of shirt. And he's like loading his car, and Sam notices him leaving, and because they're on this kind of friendly basis, he's like, "Oh, I see you're leaving, Elwood. Let me help you grab your bags and stuff." But because there's blood and all kinds of evidence around the room, he's like, "No, I'm good. I don't need any help," And that's when Sam kind of starts putting it together in his head, and he sees the or whatever, he stitched himself up. Elwood starts bleeding through his shirt right there, and and then he realizes, oh, Sam, Rossi knows what's up now. Like, I've been found out. He puts it together, like, this guy basically robbed or tried to rob my girlfriend-ish's house. So obviously there's those harsh feelings there, feeling betrayal, because it's somebody who you're on a friendly basis with, friends, you know what I mean? You shared these kind of close things about yourself, and it's a shocking kind of revelation. And then that's when we, there's like the ultimate kind of the inevitable showdown, where Sam gets away from him, or he outsmarts Elwood, and then it's almost like Elwood admires Sam enough where he's like, I can't go through with this. I don't want to kill him. I'm just gonna get out of here and leave him on their own. You know what I mean? Because when there's this scene back in Bernadette's house, he has the opportunity. Elwood has the opportunity to kill Bernadette, but then he sees. They cut to a shot of Elwood looking at. There's like this iconic trucker's cap with an American flag on it that Sam or John Bernthal's character wears throughout the movie. That's like sitting on some nightstand in the living room. And right there, when Elwood sees that, he lets Bernadette live. So to me, without physically saying anything, like visually, they're like, oh, he respects him enough that he's not going to touch his lady. You know what I mean? So,
and that's funny because he mentions early when they're in the dining room, and he's like, "Oh, you got a lady here, a lady friend or something like that, and some special lady." And he's like, "Oh yeah, kinda." And that right there, like, he's able to put it together when he sees the hat at the house.
Yeah. Yes. He's like, "Oh, this is her." You know what I mean? And then so he lets her live, and I feel like that puts the ending in context, where it's just all about this level of respect, and it's almost like Elwood views Sam as a kind of like a fallen hero, you know what I mean, or a past hero, somebody who's like, used to be the main man and shit, and he was just like, yo, like, I don't got any beef with you, we're all, we're squared up, I apologize, and he's just gonna leave. And then obviously it doesn't work out like that, but I will say I think Elwood allowed himself to be taken out by him.
Shot?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. It was like a choice. He was like, I don't know if he's gonna have the balls to do it, but if he does have the balls to do it, so be it. You know what I mean? Because he really didn't have much to leave to, you know what I mean? His mom, it seemed like his mom was crazy, and he tries to call her at one point in the movie, and she doesn't remember. It seems like she doesn't remember who he is. Like, he doesn't have so much going for him, and I feel like this is why he's mentally unstable, as at least the way that they lead us to believe throughout the film.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a
the scene where he meets